Welcome everyone to our weekly HDI Local Chapters live stream show. Our show is brought to you by Robert Half Technology. They are a leading provider of technology professionals needed to build, deploy, and operate the technology in the cloud and the digital world. And they do this by placing highly skilled IT professionals on a contract basis, a project basis, and even on a full-time permanent basis. They help your businesses just keep on going. Now you can browse available candidates, you can search for jobs, and you can access additional information on hiring and career insights by going to their website, roberthalf.com/technology. All right, so let's get started with the show. Today, I'm excited. We have a guest on here that's something we haven't talked about yet on our show. Our guest today is Erin Waterman. Now, Erin is an empathy-driven IT professional with a soft spot for the healthcare industry. We've not talked about the healthcare industry yet, so I'm really excited about this. She originally wanted to find her place in the world through a career in neurology, but after learning some Python, that's awesome, her childhood interest in technology resurfaced and an IT career pursued. Erin, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we are so excited because, we've been chatting, you and I've been chatting about on the pre-show,
Yeah.
healthcare. I know a little bit enough about the healthcare industry to be dangerous, not even in technology. But anyway, Erin, I want to hear more about, you. We have so much to unpack here. We may not even get to everything on today's show. So let's talk about, I want to know, what are you doing today? And then we're going to share with everybody, where you came from and where you're going. But what are you doing right now?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm a contractor for a hospital. Basically, what I do is I work on projects. So, setting up computers in patient rooms, or sometimes maybe even installing NIC cards. It's pretty basic right now, but I'm just getting my foot in the door into healthcare IT, basically.
Wow. So I know a little bit about your background. I want you to share with the audience. So let's talk about first, because the reason we wanted you on the show is because you're early on in your career and you're trying to figure out where you're going, right? So what inspired you to pursue a career in IT and healthcare? Now, we're not talking what I do, desktop support and help desk. We're talking something different. What inspired you to pursue a career that crosses between IT and healthcare?
Well, my first dream was to get into cybersecurity so that I could help protect the vulnerable. And then as I've been in healthcare, I've seen that it's more the infrastructure route that I want to go. But basically what ties it all together is this is a very critical infrastructure, and people are here in very vulnerable states. And it would be such a big motivating factor to get up every day and to be able to contribute to their overall safety through IT.
Yeah, and you talked about security, the cybersecurity, which is actually a worthy thing, especially in the healthcare field because of the privacy and everything, But you mentioned because in your intro we said about empathy and such, and so tell us a little bit about your experiences so far, working where you're at, because it's not just about walking. Like me, my folks, they'll walk into a room, they'll replace a computer, or they'll just kick the user out of the chair and do their work. What's it like for you where you're at?
Yeah, I definitely can't kick patients out of their bed.
What about the nurses and doctors? Isn't it cool to get in there and just chuck them out there?
Yeah, I can't say, hey, go, social workers. I can't be like, hey, can you stop asking them questions and go for a minute? I have to work around them. There have been moments where I've walked into a room and there's a pretty intense conversation going on, and they say, hey, we really need you to come back in 30 minutes. And I have to work around that. I'll be in the middle of working on a computer and a nurse will come in, and I'll scramble to make sure that they can get into their electronic health records so that they can do what they need to do, like scanning medications. So there is a lot of external awareness that comes with this position, this role, and that's what really drives me to stay in this kind of a field.
Yeah, it's neat because you're working with health, you're working in IT, but you're also you have a lot of times, and I don't know, I'm just going to say this, in a lot of times in our field, we say, don't sweat it, nobody's going to die if we mess up. I don't know if I can say that's true for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at my level, definitely there isn't a whole lot that I could do that could, hinder someone's safety, but there are things that could like contribute up the chain. So I
That's
have
what I
to
mean.
think
Like,
that.
it's not that you're
Yeah.
working on them, but if
Yeah.
the machines aren't working that you're responsible for, that's kind of could be stressful but impressive, and it's got to be a good feeling though that you're helping to contribute to somebody's better health, right?
Yep. And I always have to have a workaround when I work on a computer to make sure that I'm not taking a nurse away from their responsibilities too. And sometimes it's nice. You'd be surprised at how many times nurses will end up working around me, which I was really shocked to see. But I think that's one of the benefits of being in healthcare is the personalities you come around as well. It's just a very collaborative environment and it's really nice.
All right. So I'm hearing from our producer that they can't hear me. How about now? Are we able to hear me now, guys? Okay, that was my fault on the audio. Sorry about that. I was trying to play with it not to sound too loud. Yeah, so and I also wanted to share with the audience because again, we try to help people figure out a career, try to help encourage people along the career. And you and I, we talked to pre-show a little bit about you're kind of following a very similar path to what I did. And I'd like you to share that with the audience. Like, so Erin, you're not a doctor, right? I mean, where are you at in your career or in your educational life?
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to go back to school for computational biology and neuroinformatics.
Oh, okay, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to kind of clarify
Sure.
for you? Or
Yeah.
yeah, I'm still learning a little bit too, the full scope of what it is, but it's basically using computational modeling to ask and answer biological questions. And my biggest driving force is I want to understand more about us as humans and what can make us thrive more in the world. So I'm going back to school to pursue a career in that.
And I want to unpack that a little bit because when I
Yeah.
said very similar path, I didn't mean the whatever those big words you use for medical words like my doctor writes on paper, but in the sense of like how you're balancing, education and work and
Oh,
making that work for you.
yep. Starting very, very slow and having fun with it. That's the biggest thing is to have fun and take it slow, I think.
So taking it slow, you mean you're starting school and you're not going to go like 19 credits a semester,
Yeah.
right?
Just one class.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I thought that important for you to bring that up because that's how I did,
Yeah.
for financial reasons, I couldn't go to school like full time. And some people just, it's easier if you're working because for you, you're kind of working in an area now where you can kind of figure out which direction. And I wish I kind of would have done that because my degree, my first degree, my associate's degree was not in an area that I was interested in at all. And I didn't waste time because it's helped me throughout my career, but by working working full time and going to school very slowly. I did the same thing as you. The most I took was 2 classes a semester. It kind of spun me in the direction that I really wanted to go in technology. So I think you bring, I wanted you to share that with the audience because it's very important to know that not everybody has to go 4 years or 2 years and be done.
Mhm.
Right now,
Yeah.
let's talk about what's next for Erin. Where are you looking to do? You said mention school, but and where you're looking to go. Are you looking for an associate's, a bachelor's, some of those bigger, work in the hospital, doctor, PhD?
Yeah, well, we're starting with the bachelor's, and then there's actually a graduate certificate in neurology and neuroscience. It has the neuroinformatics in it that I want to do at a local college, OHSU. So that's kind of the long term. And then after that, if I feel like I want to and I need to, I might move on to a PhD as well in
Wow.
neurology.
Bless you. All right.
Yeah.
Now we've got about 5 minutes left or so. And I want to reel this all the way back because I promised you I wanted you to share this. Let's reel this all the way back to high school. Let's talk about how you really got involved in IT, because I know you just had a passion to be a technologist from the beginning, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take us back a little farther to when I was a kid. I think I was in 5th grade and I tore apart my first computer, and then it turned into tearing apart my first TV, and then it just turned into tearing apart all sorts of stuff. And I was obsessed, and I asked for a book about computers from my parents. I didn't end up getting it because they were kind of like, oh, we don't know. We don't know how far this passion is going to go, because I wanted to be everything when I was a kid. So, yeah. And then fast forward to senior year of high school, I needed to do some volunteer work. So I volunteered for our network administrator, basically just installing drivers. And I enjoyed what I was doing so much that I asked her, I'm not very good at math, so I never really felt I could succeed in technology or the sciences. She said, oh, Erin, you don't need math. And my response was, I still don't think I'm smart enough to be in IT.
Yeah, we call that imposter syndrome, Erin.
Yes.
Yeah, really. And a lot of us have that even once we're in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it did not stop there. I still have days now where I'm like, oh, do I belong in IT? But it's about pushing through those obstacles and really finding a place for yourself. And doing an IT career in tandem with something like healthcare that touches on my empathy, that's what's kind of helped me stay grounded in those moments.
Yeah. So like, I'm going to put you on the spot. I promise you I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Like,
okay.
What tips do you give to somebody from your perspective? Like, what do you do to help you get over the imposter syndrome? Because I think from everything that you and I have chatted about, you're an awesome person, and I would hire you in a heartbeat if I could. So tell me, how do you get over your bouts of imposter syndrome? Like, what goes through your head, and how do you get around that, and don't just throw in the towel, throw up your hands, and walk away?
Maybe I don't give my ego enough credit, but I think ultimately it's just asking myself questions like, can you really not do it though? Like, what's keeping you from doing it?
Yeah.
Let's explore this. Like, what possibly went wrong that made you make that mistake, and how can you learn from it? That kind of a thing. Always ask yourself questions.
Yeah, I tell people, like, be self-aware and be willing.
Yeah.
I like that. Ask yourself questions, like, well, and as a good technologist, Erin, you're just doing troubleshooting and root cause analysis, right? So you shouldn't have that imposter syndrome, because you are that good. If you're good enough to mix your psychology and your neurology with figuring out what's causing your imposter syndrome, and you're on the right track. And I think you're going to do a great job. Yeah, that's interesting, because I liked what you said about all I was doing was just drivers. I know from some of the things that we've done in my past where just drivers doing them wrong could get you in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say you're doing BIOS updates too, because that's right,
Yeah.
right. So we've got a few minutes left, Erin. Give us some final thoughts of just for people that are in your position, and things to think about and questions to ask yourself about where you want to go and how to get there.
Well, I think it's also about seeing what opportunities you have for experiences to create success. And in IT, my first big success was this program called IT Ready that I went through. I believe it's called Career Academy right now. It's through Computational. And let me tell you, getting through that, I think about that all the time when I feel like I can't push through something. I'm like, oh, but I pushed through that. I graduated and I got my A+ certification. So remember how much you were stressed out in that time and how well you did? You can do that again. So create those experiences, find those opportunities.
Be careful, because Amy will have you come back and talk to her classes if she already hasn't. Because and by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Amy is now she's one of our associate producers of the show.
Oh, yay!
We love her so much and what she's doing.
Yes.
Shout out to Amy, because she's doing a wonderful job. But yeah, you're such an inspiration, and she actually recommended you for the show because how inspirational where you came from and where you're at, and you're not doing things the quote traditional way, which I love, because there's nothing traditional about me. So I love hearing people do that. anything else before we go? Because we're right at the end of our show. Believe it or not, I told you it would go fast.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is IT can be a crazy ride. Just have fun with it.
That's what I think I love about it. Well,
Yeah.
Erin, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule of
Yeah.
figuring out where you're going and getting there and
Yeah.
being on our show. And I want to one thing I want to say is like this show today, our show, your show, Erin, started off the second half of our first year of this show.
Oh.
Now I know it's only at the end of May. We started in November. And again, I'd like to do a shout out to thank our sponsor, Robert Half Technologies, that helps support this to make this happen, but also to the HDI Local Chapters organization for all of their support. I mean, we're all a volunteer organization. If it wasn't for these wonderful people, this show wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be able to help people, Erin, like you, helping others through their career journeys. And so I want to say this, over the next few months, we're taking through June, especially to get us through halfway through our first real season of 2021 here. Just a little insight of what's coming up. We have some really cool shows coming up where we have Amy Cleat to come on and talk about her work with Tech Girls. We're going to interview some folks from a UK company called Worker that focuses on virtual workspace. And then we're going to have one of our HDI local chapter friends, Rocky Trono from Drive Savers. It's going to come on and talk to us about some jazzy, techie stuff in their world. And then we're going to follow up with Justin Robbins talking about some customer experience stuff. And most importantly, I think I have to check with our producers. I think the last show of June, which is halfway through the year for us, right? We're going to do something like a reality TV show reunion episode where we're going to bring guests from some of our most popular episodes in our first half of this season. So, Erin, you're probably going to have to come back for a reunion for the second half, but that's what we have in store for everybody. So I want to remind everybody to come back here every Wednesday, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern on Twitch live for our live stream show. And also follow us on Twitch as well as... Oh, there goes my alarm telling me to get off the show. But so follow us on Twitch and YouTube, subscribe to us, and follow hashtag HDI Local. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.